We live in a time of unprecedented prosperity. Technology and the market have delivered abundance to billions. But we face multiple serious issues and one evolutionary opportunity. Humankind has reached a climatic point in its history where we will transcend war or we will destroy the life-giving properties of our planet. Even the global power elite, who control most of the world's resources, realize humanity is destroying its home. They are hatching wild ideas, like the colonization of Mars, while they build survival bunkers in remote locations. The Pentagon, an organization that has been fighting wars its whole existence, thinks global warming is the most serious issue facing humanity. Insurance companies worldwide have witnessed a massive increase in unusual weather events, now the norm, as policies skyrocket. So-called acts of God, like droughts, fires, floods, irregular monsoons, rising oceans, species extinctions, and planetary warming. Nuclear annihilation and eco-catastrophe compete with each other for which will be the first to destroy life on Earth. The doomsday clock has moved to 89 seconds before midnight because the response time to a nuclear attack is now measured in minutes, not hours, and soon mere seconds. That is why we are taking humans out of the decision-making chain and replacing them with artificial intelligence. A mistake in machine thinking, of perception or evaluation, may now be why we destroy ourselves. Or will we make our planet unfit for human life through the use of coal, oil, and gas? There is a scientific consensus that climate change is happening and is primarily caused by people. 97 to 99% of scientists agree. That's a scientific consensus. It's about the same level of certainty as medical researchers who know that smoking causes cancer. Unfortunately, Western spin doctors have sold their souls in an attempt to convince the public that the scientists are lying. They call people who love the planet conspiracy theorists, which is a brilliant example of doublespeak. The spin doctors themselves are a part of a conspiracy to protect profit, even if it costs the Earth. Western media protects big business by creating uncertainty about global warming. They know they cannot debate facts. Instead, they muddy the waters with their spin doctor tricks. Since the start of the Industrial Revolution, humans have pumped around 2,500 billion tonnes of CO2 into the atmosphere, and more than half of these emissions have occurred in the last 30 years. I don't know why it is so hard for some people to imagine that this is going to have an impact. If you speak to those who live near glaciers, they will tell you they are receding, and the people living in once thriving farming communities will tell you of drought, and those who live on islands will tell you their homes are disappearing into the sea. We cannot thrive without a healthy ecosystem, just like without personal health, there is no enjoyment of life. It does not matter how rich you are if you have a terrible illness. Long-term prosperity is linked to sustainability. Abundance and sustainability are forever linked, two sides of one coin. The opportunity before us during this time of multiple crises is to create an enduring peace based on mutual respect and trust. But to do this, we will need a plan. These times may well be remembered as a great turning, the beginning of a human consciousness that transcends religious, ethnic, economic, and political differences, ever striving for unification of the world. For those with the eyes to see, we are witnessing the birth of a planetary civilization, the falling away of the old structures and the birthing of the new. Escape to Mars or a doomsday bunker is not a plan, but the people's petition is. We have spent many years perfecting this plan, which I will now communicate in depth as well as our goals. Those of us around the world who are alarmed at the current state of the Earth, the probable number being in the billions, can now link together and make a focused call for planetary peace. Switzerland has used direct democracy since 1390. It fulfills the highest ideals of both communism and representational democracy, as governance is by the people, directly. The People's Petition is a framework for how humanity can make important decisions peacefully and without war. It is not a solution to issues, but a way to make decisions on solutions. A successful majority vote for this petition will mean humanity regains control of its destiny. With it, the people of Earth will have a global mandate and be able to say to the global power elites that this is how we will make planetary laws. The People's Petition is a planetary peace plan. It has 3 main points. In the current United Nations format, 5 countries hold veto power and the rest of the world is disempowered. These 5 countries are China, France, Russia, the UK and the USA. The People's Council design addresses the basic unfairness of the United Nations and shares the Earth into 9 regions. The People's Council is an evolution of the United Nations. It is made up of 24 seats. Each region of Earth sends an equal number of males and females. Therefore, the People's Council is made up of 12 men and 12 women. The Earth is shared into 9 regions. 3 regions, India, China and Africa, represent 4 seats, while the other 6 regions represent 2 seats. Each region votes in their own delegates. It is important to understand that these delegates are only administrators. They hold no actual political power. They can only action policies that are created by the majority vote of humanity. The will of the people is created by the result of the direct democratic process. Therefore, the People's Council is controlled by the majority vote of humanity. The People's Council holds no actual power, as all global petitions are decided by humanity. All persons 18 years and over are eligible to vote. Therefore, all individuals over 18 years of age may create, register and vote on global petitions. When a budget or law needs to be passed, the idea is put to the global vote. This process is called global direct democracy. The People's Council administrators do not make decisions. Policy initiatives are also decided by the people directly, which is called petition making. Representational democracy is a form of democracy in which people vote for representatives who then vote on policy initiatives, as opposed to direct democracy, in which people vote on policy initiatives directly. Switzerland has used the instruments of direct democracy since 1390. Citizens have much more power than citizens living in representational democracies. Direct democracy is also known to be used in some villages in India, where it is called the Gram Sabha. There is the need for a global law that makes it illegal to coerce someone into voting a particular way. It is of vital importance that people are free to vote as their heart dictates. It is equally important that both sides of an issue get equal time allocated in the media. Direct democracy is the best process we have to govern ourselves. Whatever is truly in the people's interests will prevail, and people will always vote in a way that supports their own interests. Self-interest can be harnessed in a way that supports all life. Direct democracy might not be perfect, but it is the best, most fair process we have for creating planetary law. We believe the majority of the majority do care about the minority. Anyway, it is a far better process than allowing a few elites to fight each other forever in a state of perpetual war. The sovereignty triangle is the key that unlocks this whole peace plan. It was conceived in 2005 by a female Pitjantjatjara elder and communicated it to the author in Bourke, New South Wales, Australia. This elder wishes to remain anonymous, but she does ask for healing for her people in exchange for this key. The sovereignty triangle is a simple visual. Through it, we understand that the People's Council is not above human beings and their communities. All the majority global votes which create planetary law must also be ratified by local people and their communities, provinces and nations. For example, a majority vote for the ending of the use of coal may occur, but some nations or provinces may not comply with the new global law, if that is their wish. However, the global population may then respond and may vote to place trade embargoes on areas that do not comply with global laws. Therefore, communication is reciprocal. There is a moral obligation to listen, to learn, to understand, and then respond. The purpose is not to win or dominate, but to equalise, thereby producing further balance. No species, group, or country is boss for another. Each adheres to its own laws. Forgiveness is vital if we, humanity, are to move forward in a peaceful direction, step by step. The People's Petition is about positive evolution and peace, not retribution and revenge. But the main reason Provision 1 has been made an inseparable part of the People's Petition is so the global power elites and the transnational corporate class can relax and not oppose this peace plan. It is better to give those who hold the strings of power an escape route, or they will fight to the death to oppose this transfer of power. Anyway, these global elites are members of the one human family. They have children and communities they care for. We should not blame them for rising to the top of a dysfunctional system. We have all been born into a game of might is right, and humanity has been playing at war since the beginning of time. Understanding, compassion, and forgiveness are the only weapons we have to transcend war. It is no small thing to end armed conflict. If we are guided by anger and the need for retribution, we will only continue the cycle of violence. Provision 2 is simply an acknowledgement that the earth is a living entity and that we should care about its health. We have given this right to transnational corporations, so surely we can give it to our planetary home. If a transnational corporation can be considered a legal entity, then so can our planet. The People's Council ethos is a simple guide to the spirit of this petition and is hopefully the ethics of a future People's Council. The Universal Sovereignty section is a simple outline of the basic freedoms and obligations that apply to all people. The first 3 freedoms are that every person has the right to access land, water and seed. This is based on Vandana Shiva's work. She is a physicist who has become an activist so as to protect the farmers of India from the exploitation of a transnational. She is fighting Bill Gates and Monsanto, a seed and chemical transnational, who wish to sell GMO seeds to the farmers of the world. GMO seeds have intellectual property rights and must be bought each year. But the seeds farmers have used for thousands of years are the property of everyone. Clearly, this transnational and this global power elite wishes to control the food supply. Apparently, Bill Gates recently sold his shares in Monsanto because of criticism, but the plan to control the world's food goes on. This is another powerful reason why we need to regain control of our destiny. If we allow these elites to complete their takeover of the earth, our children and their children will be born into poverty and slavery. Already, they are buying up private housing in the West and pricing young people out of the market. Access to land, water and seed is a fundamental freedom. The People's Embassy have added 2 extra freedoms to Vandana Shiva's work: the right to access healthcare and education. Therefore, there are 5 freedoms in total. We then added 2 obligations which apply to all people. They are to not harm each other or the earth. What this actually means and how it is to be defined will be made by the direct democratic process. Finally, we added 1 affirmation. It acknowledges the importance of diversity to the healthy functioning of the planet, diversity of life forms, and diversity of human culture. People spend thousands of dollars in their free time to travel overseas and experience other civilizations. The beauty of humanity is the difference in customs and traditions. Image 1. The pyramid bases power at the top. This is the dominant system which is currently in place. It is eternally contested. In this law of nature, the strong dominate until their strength wanes and then they are replaced by the young. It is not inherently bad. It does have positive features. For instance, in a restaurant, there is 1 chef who is responsible, so the meals are seasoned correctly. Or in making a film, 1 director is responsible, so the vision makes sense. In business, the use of the hierarchical system is the most efficient, but it does need to be balanced. Image 2. The sovereignty triangle brings the pyramid power system into equilibrium. Power is based with local people and their provinces, whilst also creating a framework for global cooperation. As long as your community does not harm the earth or create weapons of destruction as defined by global petitions, then your community, province and nation can live as it chooses. Image 2 adheres to the universal law, live and let live. Image 3. In yoga, for the last 5,000 to 12,000 years, this symbol has represented the heart center, where the masculine and feminine energies come together in balance. In Tibetan Buddhist Tantra, it has a similar meaning. In the ancient Egyptian language, it is called the Merkaba, which is created from 3 words. Mer means light, Ka means spirit, and Ba means body. In the Jewish tradition, it is known as the Star of David. Image 4. In opposing and balancing each other, they need to be equivalent because the purpose is not to dominate, but to equalize, producing further balance. In a practical political sense, the CEOs of transnational corporations are balanced by the People's Council. Therefore, humanity ensures justice prevails. They make sure that transnational corporations are positive or neutral in their impact on communities and the planet. As a result, corporations once again will serve the interests of humanity and the planet. Humans need a healthy planet to survive and thrive. Consequently, the planetary interest and the human interest are one and the same. A system cannot enhance life if it is out of kilter. Communication needs to be exchanged. There is an ethical obligation to listen, to learn, to acknowledge, and to respond. The seed of life was added to complete the People's Council logo. It communicates that all life on Earth and the universe is interconnected and that all life originates from a single source in a divine plan. If you are atheist, you will need to ignore this reference to God, but you do need to accept that most of the world believes in God the Creator. We don't need a one-world religion. We only need to recognize the truth of peace, love, happiness, and prosperity. If we could agree on the fundamental importance of these 4 principles, we could then go away and worship as we choose, or not worship if we choose. We, humanity, need to accept the world as it is, and then move forward step by step in a healthy way. Fundamental to this process is forgiveness. We need to have understanding towards our ancestors. They were brave and resourceful people who did what was needed to survive and prosper. We must have compassion for their violence. The planetary triage section is only a suggestion for possible future petitions. It demonstrates how humanity may use the global, direct, democratic process to heal our world. 1. The freedom to vote without coercion in the global direct democratic process is to be enshrined as a first planetary law. Freedom of speech is also fundamentally important, so both sides of an issue may be heard. In the media, it is important that an equal time is given to both sides of an argument. Then the people may decide which way to proceed. 2. A planet-wide ceasefire is created and the solution to issues that lead to war are decided by global direct democracy. Therefore, the majority vote of humanity will adjudicate these issues. 3. Economic justice is linked to the access of land, water and seed for all people. Access to education and healthcare is also a requirement. Placing a limit on personal wealth of 1 billion USD may help enable economic justice. The creation of a global reference currency and community currencies will also help. In essence, money is the lifeblood flowing through our society, our human community, and should be acknowledged and treated consciously. Debt forgiveness for all nations and for all people is vital so a conscious process around money may begin. We must take money creation out of the hands of the elites and end the debt-based monetary system. 4. Humanity will decide, by majority vote, what actions are to be taken to heal our world. Permaculture, or sustainable culture, may be defined as a characteristic of a society that satisfies its needs without diminishing the prospects of later generations. 5. The People's Council will take over administration of all the responsibilities and duties of the International Court of Justice. This transfer of power is so the majority vote of humanity makes determinations, not a few elites. 6. The creation of weapons inspection teams from all nations to inspect all nations is fundamental to the peace process. Massive monetary fines for lying or misleading these teams needs to be established. This is the beginning of building trust through transparency. Through a transparent and verifiable process, nuclear weapons can be destroyed over the next decade or two. It will be a slow process. Trust can only be built over time. 7. Incentive-based policy to reduce the number of people on the planet. Economists and others understand that where women are educated, they have less children. 8. Humanity could come together to explore space. Working towards a common goal will help us heal our past. Also, it may well be important that we present a unified face to the universe. 9. The Olympic Games brings humanity together in a peaceful meeting. The Global Arts Festival takes this idea a step further, the sharing of culture in a non-competitive manner. There will be no medal ceremonies, only the sharing of art, the sharing of culture. Every 4 years, humanity may come together to share what is most beautiful, funny, and interesting. Dance, music, theatre, comedy, sculpture, film, food, visual art, poetry, and other art forms. The Global Arts Festival is an assertion of the affirmation of universal sovereignty. Open letter to the global power elite and the transnational corporate class. We know you too love your children and care for your communities. It is this common link we wish to bring to your attention. This planet is at the crossroads where we can minimise the impact of industrial civilization or be consigned to extinction. For your children's and grandchildren's sake, we must come together without blame or hatred. You have nothing to fear in this plan, the People's Petition. You need not fear retribution or judgment. Provision 1 of the People's Petition protects you. There can be no prosecutions for wrongdoings dated before the inception of the People's Council and global direct democracy. We know you love deals, Therefore, we trade forgiveness for a peaceful transfer of power to the people of Earth. Anyway, we have all been born into this dysfunctional world, and there is no point blaming you. You are simply the winners of a flawed, broken, defective, and maladjusted game that we have all been playing. You, the global power elite, and the transnational corporate class are members of the one human family. You have skills and resources that are vital to a future world of peace and sustainable abundance. By standing down and not opposing this peace process, you are making a great contribution to your children's and grandchildren's lives. One of you, or perhaps a few of you, may well join together and donate 10 billion USD to the People's Embassy. With this, we will conduct the first global vote in human history and create the software for the global, direct, democratic process. What more extraordinary legacy could you leave behind besides helping create peace on Earth? We ask everyone on this planet to take responsibility for the achievement of the 4 objectives of the People's Embassy Trust. Today is the 24th of April 2025, and unless many people reach out to us in support of this plan, this video may well be our last act. It is up to you. It has taken many years to develop this work, and over $50,000 has been spent on websites, the printing of books, travel, and various other expenses like this video. I have lost many friendships over time. Some people think I am a dreamer, others that I am a lunatic, and still others have believed disgusting lies that someone invented out of jealousy and envy. But I have put my faith in God, and so I have always been protected. Over the last 10 years, I have kept away from most people so I could work on this project. 2 special people helped me to heal, and I began to flourish. I have created some beautiful and not so beautiful art that I now wish to sell to raise the budget for a network quality documentary that explains this plan and the background to its creation. It is a beautiful story, full of hardship, creativity, and love. This plan has been born out of the darkness. I know how humanity in the developed world can suffer, but I know nothing about how the poor suffer in most of the world. I do know 60% of humanity lives on $1.25 to $5 a day, and that group is growing. It breaks my heart that capital continues to concentrate in fewer and fewer hands, just like a game of Monopoly. When I started this project 20 years ago, 500 families had as much wealth as the poorest 50%. Now 8 individuals have as much wealth as the poorest 50%. I went to live in a yoga centre 20 years ago, and that is where I turned my life around 180 degrees. A spiritual master asked me to be of intelligent service to the world, and I gave myself up to this cause. But I did not know where to start. I did know that humanity needed to evolve the United Nations into something more fair. But I did not want to promote a UN 2.0 that was above the people. I did not trust a future UN 2.0 to not be corrupted over time by cunning and greedy individuals, and so I was lost on how to proceed. But in 2005, I was given the key by a people some consider primitive and backward, but whom I would find to be among the most advanced on earth. The Petition from the centre of Australia. One day, I may tell the story about how exactly this evolutionary key was transmitted to me. All I will say now is it was mystical, almost unbelievable, and definitely heartfelt. Over the years on this journey, I would befriend quite a few Indigenous people, and they have always struck me as loving, just, talented, intelligent, courageous, and spiritual. But they did all carry the wounds of a transgenerational trauma which was inflicted on them by my ancestors and by people living today who can only see their dysfunction. This plan is about the principles of justice and a framework for decision making. I have no solutions, only a way to make settlements without the need for war. Over the last 5 years, I have tried my best to hand over this project so I could remain anonymous, but I have failed in this. I do not wish for fame. In fact, I can think of nothing worse than to be famous and poor. Anyway, I am now sacrificing my anonymity to the cause. As the author of this work, I now hope to sell my art to raise a budget so we can make a network quality documentary that explains this plan and the background to its creation. By buying a piece of art, you not only contribute to this peace plan, but if we are successful, the art you buy will become valuable. I do not profit from the sale of this art. All money will be put into an operations fund for the People's Embassy, and our books will be open and transparent. We hope to establish the People's Embassy as a legal entity by the end of this year. We have almost raised the budget to cover the lawyer fees. We intend to establish a headquarters for the People's Embassy in Delhi, India. It seems appropriate to establish it in the most populous nation on earth. I have no animosity towards the global power elites, only love and understanding. But they are very powerful. They own most of the world. But they cannot kill an idea. Please share this plan so it is known in each and every nation. We ask you to create a People's Embassy in your city or town. Please translate this plan into your language. Collectively, we can and will make a precise, unified call for peace and justice. We recognise this plan is a 1,000-year project, but we must start somewhere. The life-giving potential of this planet is being destroyed by human stupidity. We will not accept that our home, the Earth, is dying and beyond healing. It is still a beautiful blue world. There is hope. But only if you unite. Only a massive, grassroots, planet-wide movement can challenge the global power elites and the transnational corporate class. We are not anti-capitalist. We believe in a free market where small and medium businesses thrive and transnationals are reprogrammed. But we are against exploitative capital concentration, where a few elites own and rule the world. It may seem complicated and impossible, but if we think holistically, the answers are simple. Like one person, one vote, majority decides. To transcend armed conflict is not a small thing. We need to be aware of our conditioning and have compassion for ourselves. If we let anger guide us rather than forgiveness, we will not heal ourselves or the earth. I apologise for any flaws or errors in this presentation. I am not university educated, but perhaps it is best this way, as I have kept the language simple. It is not the gobbledygook that only professors may understand. The brilliance of this plan lies in the sovereignty triangle. It was conceived by a female Petition elder. It is straightforward, and it cuts through all human complexity. It gives humanity a way to use power in a loving and balanced manner. Therefore, any genius is thanks to the Petition nation of Australia. And I did not invent direct democracy. The Swiss have used it since 1390, and villages in India have used it for millennia. But I did share the earth into 9 regions and allocate the 24 seats of the People's Council. No doubt this will be criticised, but it is not so important, as the People's Council is ruled by the majority vote of humanity. These 24 seats may be adjusted via the direct democratic process. Collectively, we may well be planting the seed for a golden age. It may take decades, centuries, even thousands of years to fully realise, but it is urgent that we plant this seed for peace now. If we do receive a massive level of support and we do succeed in the attempt to create a people's embassy in Delhi, India, we will see you on social media. Any updates and progress reports will be posted there and on our website. You may send in criticisms and suggestions to our email address. We are facing a planetary emergency. This decade may well make or break humanity. It is as serious as it gets. If we truly care for the world we hand over to our children and their children, we must unite and work together without blame or judgment. All of us have been harmed by the dominance paradigm we live under, and all of us have something to offer to help heal this world, even if it is just to witness in silence the state of this world. In fact, this is where we must all begin. Accept the world as it is, without judgment. Then, if we are able to move forward step by step in a peaceful manner. We thank all people who love and support the Indigenous people of Earth. They hold vital wisdom we need to save our world. We thank all the people who have assisted the author in this vision. We honour all the people who are united in this quest.